arts for years and years, and I am very proficient in the martial arts, so I don't want to learn any basic things. I want to learn the advanced secret stuff taught at the Shaolin Temple. So my Chinese friend talked Chinese to the monk, and he turned to me and he said, well, the monk says he wants to teach you how to throw a punch. I said, no. Tell the monk, tell him I know how to throw punches. I want to learn the advanced stuff. I want the real meat. I want the secrets. They chatted again. My Chinese friend turned to me and said, well, the monk says he really wants to teach you how to throw a punch. I said, no. Tell him I know how to throw a punch. I don't want to learn just a basic punch. I want to learn the real advanced stuff. They chatted again. And my Chinese friend said, well, he said he really wanted to teach you how to throw a punch. He said, but he wanted to see your punch first. And he wanted to see how good you are. So they set up a candle, lit the candle flame. And he said, he wants you to throw your punch as hard as you can and stop 1 inch before candle flame. I said, fine. He probably wants to see how much I can control, a powerful punch. So I asked him, well, what type of punch does he want? Does he want a cutting punch? Does he want a side punch? Does he want a spinning back fist punch? No, just any punch. So I throw a Shaolin cutting punch at the candle flame, and I stop exactly 1 inch from the candle flame with perfect control. Quite frankly, I was pretty impressed with my own punch. They talked in Chinese, and my friend said, the monk says he's very impressed with your punch. He said he now wants to show you his punch. So, sure, I wanted to see the monk's punch. I mean, it couldn't be any better than mine. So the monk gets up there, looks at the candle flame, looks at me and smiles, and throws this very short punch. And he stops about 1.5 feet from the candle flame. And the candle flame went out. He stopped his hand 1.5 feet with a fist. He stopped at 1.5 feet from the candle flame with this very short punch, and the candle flame went out. My eyes got as big as saucers, and I said, oh my God, tell him I want to learn how to do that. And he said, that's what he's been trying to tell you. He wants to show you how to throw a punch. And the reason why I say this is sometimes we think, I don't want to learn the basics. I want to learn the advanced stuff. And this Shaolin master said to me very simple. He says, if you want to be a master, you have to be a master of the basics. And what I learned, and what you should understand, is that these 4 basic principles, who do you listen to? Teachability index, training balance scale, and the 4 steps are not as simple as you think. Some people think they're just a punch. No. If I really focus in on training balance scale, in 2 days, you'll be amazed of how different you'll be by learning all the in-depth knowledge of this information and just how profound. Just as simple as this Shaolin, who's going to teach me now for the next 6 weeks how to throw a punch. Because the secret of the Shaolin Temple is being able to throw 1 strike. See, he taught me this. He says, if you want to be a master, you must be a master of the basics. And he taught me this other very important principle. And these are principles from the societies, by the way. He said this, and I want you to listen to this because this is brilliant. He said, how many different strikes can you throw? And I started rattling off all these different punches, all these different kicks, all these different elbow strikes, all these different knee strikes, rattling one after the other, after the other, after the other. And these are all that I knew, and I knew them really good. And he said this brilliant statement. He stopped me. I hadn't finished with all the strikes I knew. And he said, At the Shaolin Temple, we say, I am not afraid of the 10,000 strikes you know that you practiced only once. I am deathly afraid of the one strike you know that you've practiced 10,000 times. Think about that. I am not afraid of the 10,000 strikes you know you've practiced once. I am deathly afraid of the one strike you know that you've practiced 10,000 times. Key principle. Key principle. Master the basics. This is a key principle. And by definition, master the basics is focus on the fundamentals. And there's not a lot of fundamentals. There's not a lot of fundamentals. This is a secret. The secret is that most people think there are all these secrets. Therefore, they can't be successful because they don't know all of the secrets. The biggest secret of the societies is that there's only a few basic concepts. But the key is mastering them to a level that nobody could imagine. Just like a punch. A simple punch is a simple punch. The reason the Shaolin monk could stop 1.5 feet before the candle flame and blow the candle flame out was he learned how to throw a punch and actually throw his what's called chi energy through his body, through the fist, and the chi energy would actually leave the physical body and go out into the flame, causing the flame to go out. Now, when he would hit you, if he was going to hit somebody, with that same punch, it would virtually throw you across the room. Because he focused on something as simple as a simple punch, but learned how to make it much more than a punch. That's why he said, it's not a punch, it's a punch. There's a big difference. Some of you are just thinking, who do you listen to? All right, I got that. Teachability index, I got it. Training balance scale, I know that, understood, next. 4 basic steps, I got it. Now I'll get to the real stuff. Well, first off, if you've got that attitude, guess what? Your teachability index is 0. You haven't got it yet. You understand? You got to keep saying, teach me more about who do I listen to. Teach me more about the teachability index. Teach me more about the training balance scale. Teach me more. And someone said, I was at one of our private meetings. There was a few of us at one of our members' homes in Barbados. It was, you know, like you're in the setting here. It was similar. It was about a $35 million house. This magnificent structure. And we flew in there on the private planes. And we were there. And, you know, I've been very fortunate because every time I'm with my teachers, and the reason I'm telling you this is because you should feel the same way. I'm trying to get you to understand this. Every time I'm with the teachers, I do very little talking and a lot of asking questions and a lot of listening and observing. One of my early teachers said, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth. Use them proportionately. Think about that. So we were sitting there chatting about different concepts. And I said, at what point can you stop learning about the basics? At what point can you say, I think I really got the basics? And he said, I thought this was brilliant. He said, when you want to learn just a little more, and you love the idea of learning and being educated on the basics, you don't have to learn it anymore. But at that point you can't. It's like a drug. You love learning about the basics, you love focusing on the fundamentals, you love tweaking it and integrating it just a little bit more, that you can't not learn. You can't not ask. You can't not get another example, another observation to build another neural pathway. Because what's occurring is when you start getting to unconscious competence and those neural pathways get bigger and bigger and bigger, you're actually getting a chemical rush biologically in the body from learning more about that thing. Do you understand? This is why willingness to accept change is hard, because you've developed big neural pathways. Those neural pathways for the habits that you've developed are making you crave to continue that habit because you're feeding that neural pathway. And when you stop doing that habit, you're not feeding that neural pathway, it's craving for more. And you're just starting a brand new neural pathway, and you have a big old neural pathway craving for attention and craving for you to do that thing and focus on that and do that old habit, that old pattern. And here you are establishing a new neural pathway, which is very small. It doesn't have that cravingness yet. That's why it's hard to have a willingness to accept change. Does this make sense? This is why it's so vitally important. This is the advantage we had as being society members, because we were around this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We had our phone calls, we had our coffees, we had our book meetings. We knew we were going to get tested. We knew we were going to get the phone call. We knew we were going to meet somebody and people were going to observe it. And we knew that if we failed, that if we walked in and somebody came up to us, that we knew we were a society member, and they knew I was the apprentice, and they asked me a question about, what did I observe from that guy? And I didn't really give an answer. Or if they sensed and they knew that my willingness to learn or my willingness to exchange was lower, guess what? I wasn't moving on to the next level. I wasn't learning anything new because there was nothing for me to learn or be exposed to because I haven't learned my lesson yet. If I can't add, we're not going to get on to subtraction. If you can't add, subtract, multiply, and divide, we ain't doing algebra. Sorry. We can't go there until you are proficient and an expert in addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division. You have to be an expert in that before we get to algebra. So in our lives, we had not a fear, but a strong motivation to